Tuesday, June 5th, 20th after fall. The next morning, Jimmy was a little worse. His skin looked like it was pulled tight. When I woke up, I saw him sitting next to the machine, and he was staring at the button. Morning, Jimmy. How you feeling? Like warmed up dog shit. Fuck dreams, man. Horrible. Yeah? Like what? I climbed down and tiptoed around the cleaning dust and saw it was almost dried. I looked at the sanitation unit and the smell was more pronounced and stronger there. Damn, Jimmy. I'm gonna piss from here and throw more powder. I don't even want to put my feet in there. Help yourself. I did the same. The dust bag is there. He pointed and I saw it. I relieved myself and dumped more powder on the sanitation floor. When I was confident I had covered it all, turned and saw Jimmy was again staring at the unit. This fucking thing is still going strong, man. I nodded. Yeah, I woke up a few times and saw it was still humming along. Anyways, nightmares? He nodded. Yeah, nightmares. Bloody, horrible. I was eating people, man. Like eating pussy? I tried to joke. He shook his head and looked down, almost ashamed. Okay, no jokes, man. Sorry. Too early, right? He nodded and waved it away. In a dream, I pushed a button. And I was bathed in blood. I killed. I ate. I really liked it. Yeah? Yeah. I mean, I almost ate the entire town, man. I even... Dude, did you fucking eat me? He nodded. He looked scared. Well, it's just a freaky dream, man, 'cause you and I both know I'd whoop the cow shit out if you tried some shit like that. He nodded, smiled weakly. Anyways, enough with that shit. How you feeling besides warmed up dog shit? Let me see your arms. The color in his neck and face had lightened a lot. His skin looked better from the color point of view, but was pulled so tight it made his muscles look so well defined. They looked chiseled. Then I realized it wasn't that his skin had been pulled tighter. He had gotten more muscular. You seen yourself in the mirror, bro? He shook his head. No, why? You look a lot different, but I also think your muscles have grown. What? I handed him a small mirror we kept around for shaving. He examined himself and nodded. Looks weird. Hang on a sec. I had an idea. I walked past him and got some of the other stuff we had stored in the safety of the back room. There was a large bar, shiny silverish in color. It was a silver bar that we kept when some of our more prestigious clientele would come through. It weighed a lot. So much so I had to use both hands to bring it to Jimmy. I put it on a table in front of him and he looked at it. What's this? Tell me how heavy you think it is. He reached out with both hands since he had seen me using both of mine to bring it to him. He lifted it, tilted his head, looked at me confused. You fucking with me, Josh? I stared in amazement as he released one hand and just held the bar with 2 fingers and his thumb. Holy shit, I said, amazed. You switched it out? I shook my head. You know I ain't that smart. You also know I can't do forgeries for shit. Look at the markings. He did, and he nodded. He set the bar back on the table and paused to consider the information. How much you figure the bar weighs? He asked. 500 ounces. I think close to 40 pounds. Yeah, more like 35, but close enough to get your point. I nodded. He looked at the silver bar and then the machine. Bro, I'm fucking scared, he said to me with a faint hint of tears in his eyes. Relax, Jimmy. I got you, bro. I ain't gonna let shit happen to you. He nodded and sniffed. Okay. We need to pack shit up and get the cart ready. What do you bring with you on your runs normally? Well, the trip to Oasis is easy. There's a fucking road there. I usually bring 2 jugs of water. Extra was better in case something happened to the mule. I fuel her up, and she has enough usually to last at least 4 round trips. I fueled her up last time, so we should be good with the mule. Trip's about a day if we push her. Jimmy nodded. Okay, weapons? I nodded. Showed him the blade I usually traveled with. I usually didn't have problems heading towards Oasis since there was often patrols that ran from there back and along the roadways on a regular basis. It was because of these patrols that I didn't travel with a gun. Oasis was very strict when it came to their gun laws, which extended to their roads. I also have a war club, if it makes you more comfortable. We could bring the hammer as well. His eyes widened at the mention of the hammer. He nodded. Yeah, it's gotten out of jams in the past. Can we bring it also? Sure thing, man. I walked to the front room and pulled it down from the pedestal we had on the wall. I returned and handed it to him. He examined it grimly, nodded, paying respect to the item which had taken a dozen lives and liberated us. Better? I asked with a smile. He nodded. I continued to gather up gear and packed up a couple of backpacks and then decided to add in a few other items which I wouldn't have normally brought. Chalk it up to intuition, gut feeling, whatever. The extra odds and ends were sleeping mats, water purification containers, motion sensors, and enough odds and ends for Jimmy to rig up perimeter defenses. He noted the extra items and said nothing. The food wafers were portable, easy to pack, but again, I paused and packed extra. Lots of extras. Okay, packs are ready. Mule's in the back. I'll turn her on and give her a little warm-up before loading the cart. How hot does it get out there? Jimmy asked, as I remembered it had literally been years since he had been out further than 10 yards from the shop. Hot enough to melt your balls. And the shape your skin looks, we better bring the sun shields. You're going to want to rub everywhere you think the sun's going to touch you. Make sure your clothing's light, but covers you well. It gets really cold at night. I'm sure we'll make it to Oasis with time to spare, but if something happens to the mule along the way, and we need to camp out, bring your big jacket too. He nodded, slowly got up, gathered some of the matching clothing I had recommended. He changed from his garage gear. When I saw his legs, I paused. Dude, does your legs hurt? No, why? They look kind of broken. He looked, and midway up his thighs, they bent in an odd angle. He raised the leg and set it down. His feet also were weird, and the angle of the arch raised the back part of his heel off the ground. He walked, and his gait had a side-to-side sway to it. No, feels fine. Looks fucked, though, he admitted. Fuck it. Let's worry about it when we get to Oasis. I think they also have doctors there. He shook his head. What? Doctors are expensive. They ain't gonna take water or food. Which was one of the reasons I grabbed the silver bar. Plus, we do have it. His mouth opened, and he was shocked. You're not serious. I nodded. The fuck I'm not. You're my brother. I'd give my right nut to save you. Not your left? Sorry. I have to draw the line somewhere. He smiled as I went back to the rear of our stash, and hidden deep in the trash we had purposely stashed was a small safe. I put the code in and opened it. Inside were 2 small gold bars and a small velvet bag. I retrieved both, put them on a table next to the massive silver bar. I think with that, we can get you a real man's dick. He sneered with a grin. Me? I'm good. You're the one packing a 6-inch killer. I chuckled. Fucking meat gazer. You know that's when Junior's relaxed, right? He nodded and laughed, looked away and wiped his tear. Thanks, bro. The most valuable items were sitting in front of him, and we literally killed for them. They were supposed to be our ticket away from 74, and a new life someplace better. The problem we had been facing was figuring out where that someplace better was. There were rumors of amazing lands, but nothing ever concrete, though. Okay, let me get a case for these. Don't want them out in plain sight, just in case. He nodded. I found a few cylinders which looked like fertilized containers. I put some potting soil we had bags of and put the large bar in and filled it the rest of the way and then clamped it closed. I did the same with the gold bars. The bag I tossed up and down and considered a good spot. If we got jacked, where would a good spot to hide the black bag? What you worried about? Jimmy asked. I was just thinking, man, if we get jacked and some bandits fucking get them. Ah, you're wondering about the stones, where to hide them. I nodded. I suppose you could swallow 'em, and then we can fish 'em out of the shit? He shook his head. I'm having a hard time keeping stuff down. Yeah, but if stuff does go down, you'd be better off with them. I'd be the one they'd kill, and then you could feed 'em a line of shit about you being sick, etc. And there's a chance they'd leave you alone since you're not viewed as a warrior. He considered, realized I was trying to ensure he'd have a way to survive if anything happened to me. Fuck it. How big are they? I tossed him the bag and he looked. Jesus, some of them are monstrous. Here. I went to the fridge and retrieved the last of the bottled water. He took it, began swallowing the diamonds. There were 30 of them. Jimmy had said there was no way to value them, and he didn't want to look them up on the computers. As he worked on that, I examined the device, which was still whirling away. I took the shirt, wrapped it up. I used the sleeves of the shirt to tie it down securely. I could feel the vibrations of it as I did, and I was nervous. Okay, done. He tossed the black bag onto his bed and examined the machine again. Okay, how you feel? Still feel like shit, but good, I think. I'm fucking starving, but I'll wait to eat. I don't want to risk what happened last time. I nodded. Okay, I'm going to load the machine first and then cover it with some other clothing and stuff so we can hide the noise it makes while we're on the road. Jimmy nodded. He understood my paranoia, and also the fact we had stayed alive as long as we had was because of my crazy paranoid thinking. He was a genius on his, and I was on mine. I lifted the machine and then heard a large set of thunks and felt the device pull away from me back towards the desk. I pulled harder, not sure what had happened, and then the shirt pulled free, and I saw the machine on the desk, and Jimmy was staring. What happened? The fucking thing shot out spikes and chains and then anchored itself to the desk. I looked, and sure as shit, it had done exactly what Jimmy had said. What the hell, Jimmy? I don't know. We gotta get it to the cart. I know. The front button flashed faster, and I noted it. Hey man, the button? Jimmy nodded and then made a face of pain. Ow! What? You don't hear that? I listened. Only thing I could hear was the pounding of my heart in my ears, Jimmy's groans of pain, and the whirling of the machine. I don't hear anything. That piercing whistle? I shook my head. It's the thing, man. Push the button. No, Jimmy. I think it's trapped. Go in the front. I'll close the door. Maybe it'll be less there. He nodded. He stumbled out, cupping his ears as he did. When he was clear of the door, I closed it and heard it secure and seal itself. I went to the control booth and put on the headset. Jimmy, that better? Yeah. It's less, but it's still shrieking. Push the button. No. Why not? Because it wants me to, and the some bitch has been nothing but fucking us since we got it. He nodded, went further to the front of the shop. I could see him squarely in the center of the camera's view. The device began to spin faster and the hum grew, and the button dimmed out, and there was a huge burst of energy that exploded from it, and it knocked me to the ground out of my chair. Jimmy screamed out, and I struggled to get to my feet and see the monitor. Jimmy! He was on the ground. Then he stood, still facing the front of the shop. He was hunched over, almost like he was holding something towards his stomach. Jimmy! He held his hand up. All fingers opened, letting me know he could hear me. I waited and watched. Dude, the machine kind of blew itself up. I mean, it's all here and everything, but it's not whirling around anymore. I looked back to the camera and Jimmy was still standing in the same spot, but it was harder to see him. He was almost blending into the shadows. He was shirtless. Jimmy, what the fuck, dude? You stripping for me now? I can't see you. I'm gonna hit the lights. I turned on the front area lights, and as they flipped on, I still was having a hard time seeing him on the camera. It was as if there was an area around him that was messing with the camera's optics. I could see him, but I couldn't see details. Whoa, dude. Something really messed up on the cameras. I'm trying to see. I was silenced by him as I saw his arm raise again, and a single finger went up, his index finger. It was a sign we had agreed upon to be quiet for a second. I shut up and waited, noted Jimmy's form was shifting larger. I looked and noted near him was a shelving section, the top of which was 8 feet tall. Jimmy stood, while hunched over, was close to that height. My heart was pounding so fast now that I was sure pain would follow soon and I would die of a heart attack. Jimmy slowly turned And even with the optics messed up, I could see that Jimmy's face was not human. Not anymore. The mouth and nose had shifted into a massive muzzle. His body was heavily muscled, and even the slightest of movements, I could see them flex.
I feel better now. No more noise. The pain is gone too.
His voice was distorted, filled with growls. Somewhat hard to understand, but I forced myself to comprehend, as if my life depended on it.
I think I may need to look through some of the larger size clothes now,
he said jokingly, but something in me was wary. Yes, I think so.
Okay, let me back in.
I got up and went to the door, and as quiet as I could, secured the secondary locks. The final set of locks would require me to execute a command on the terminal, and the sound would be loud as the locks slid into place. Even though I worked quietly, Jimmy heard.
Why are you locking it up more?
He asked with hurt in his voice. Jimmy, not sure if you looked in the mirror or even looked down. Shit. How to say this? Dude, you're a fucking monster now. I sat back at the terminal and watched as he looked himself over, and his hands were ended with wicked talons, and he flexed them teasingly.
Yeah, I did notice. It's all good, man. I wouldn't hurt you. You know this.
Do I? It hurt me to say that out loud.
Wow,
he said. He sat in the center room, clear for me to see. I noticed he had a large tail. Fuck, dude, you have a tail?
Yeah.
Dude, let me wrap my fucking head around this, okay? I promise you, we'll figure this out. I recalled the forums, went back, scrolled, read more and more, and then paused. Fuck.
What?
You know the guy who also got stuck?
Yeah.
They killed the guy who got stuck. Said he turned into a
lycanthrope.
Yeah, that's it. Jimmy sighed, then inhaled deeper and sighed deeper. What the fuck is that?
Werewolf.
What?
Werewolf.
You're shitting me, right? I mean, yeah, I can see the tail, the claws, the big fucking mouth. Oh shit, man. You are a werewolf. Understanding and realization hit me, and excitement flooded in with my fear. Dude, you don't want to eat me, right? He paused. Right?
No. I am starving, though.
I could send out wafers.
Fuck the wafers.
His voice was loud enough to clip the audio on the headset. I could hear it through the walls. So you're telling me you need meat?
Yes. Fucking dying, man. I'm starving.
I nodded. I hit the lights and the main lights died down.
What are you doing?
Shut the fuck up, Jimmy. You're hungry, right?
Yes.
Then let's ring the fucking dinner bell. I typed the command to open the front gate.
Wait. Seriously?
Bro, it's always been me and you against the fucking world. If you're a fucking werewolf and you have needs, who am I to get in the way of them? He turned and looked at the camera, and there was a sinister glint in his eyes.
I love you, bro.
Handle your business. I watched as he moved quickly to the darkest part of the shop, and the gate did its normal loud process of opening, and I watched as 6 groups of people gathered and lined up at the waiting point. There was a pang of guilt as I saw the first one. It was an old woman, and I recognized her. She had been one of the few that had been splattered with blood when the dress-wearing gunner had tried to jack us. I took some small comfort that at least it wasn't a child with their family. But then, there weren't many children in 74. The gate locked into place, and I hit the speaker. "We are open! Come on in, customer number 1. She walked in, noted the lights were off. "It's dark as fuck in here," she said, annoyed. I flipped on the center light to the main inspection table. She walked towards the light and noted I wasn't standing there with my normal grin. Where are you? I had to grab something from the back. Be right there. Well, hurry up. I'm almost dead, you know. I'm old as dirt. Lady, you don't know the half of it. Jimmy moved, so silently, so swiftly, I could barely make out where he was on the camera. The distortion around him was really doing a number on the cameras. He rose up behind a woman. The sun was shining in the shop, and his shadow covered her as he neared. She sensed it a moment before he fell upon her, and mighty hands tore her head off, and her head bounced a few feet away, and I could see the confusion on her face as her brain tried to process how the view had shifted and spun and landed her so low in the store, and then the sheer look of terror on her face as she witnessed the beast devouring her body, blood spraying in the entire surface of the display counter. Part of me was annoyed, wondering who the fuck was going to clean up the mess Jimmy was making, and then I caught myself, realized there would be no shop after this. We would be on a run, and most likely hunted. The others, who had been lined up, dropped everything and ran away screaming. Jimmy munched and chomped and slurped.
Oh, so good. Needed. Oh, so bad.
Better?
Oh, dude, this shit's amazing.
His voice was getting clearer, easier to understand as he ate.
Fuck, man, I feel bad as fuck I had to kill Grandma, but damn, she is delicious. I'd offer you some, but I understand.
Yeah, bro, that's all you. Oh, shit, this is better. My head's not so damn cloudy. I can think again. Fuck. I'm a fucking werewolf. Dude, I was seriously fantasizing about eating your face. Fucker! What? I fucking knew it. If I had opened the door, you would have fucking killed me. Probably. Dude, I'm being honest here. I'm telling you though, I feel so much better now. Okay, fine. We'll come back to the part where you want to eat my fucking face, but I'm confused. You're confused? Yeah. How is it you're a werewolf? I mean, doesn't that shit require a full moon, you being bit by one, you know? Holy shit, look at you. Thought you didn't know anything about werewolves. He had tore off the woman's hand and was eating her fingers. They crunched loudly. No, I know stuff about them. I read. I just never heard the word lycanthrope. That's all. Jimmy nodded, and I noted his massive tail was wagging. It was obvious Jimmy was happy as he was devouring the woman. Did the forum say how they killed the werewolf they had there? I spun the monitor around and continued reading. They blew it up and shot the shit out of it. So they didn't need anything out of the ordinary? Jimmy stood up, sniffed the air. Fur in his back bristled up. Dude, what? Not sure. Load up the cannons. What? Josh, fucking do it, man. I nodded, turned on the security protocols. The screen was glitching around Jimmy. I could not target him to exclude him from the threats. Jimmy, we got a situation here. Just one? System can't lock on you. Fuck. You're a shitty shot. I wish the roles were reversed. I got a plan. Back all the way to the wall here. I'll aim the cannons dead center on the front gate. Set it for auto side to side. As long as you're back there, nothing will hit you. He considered this and nodded, backed all the way to the wall and crouched down. He continued to sniff, and he growled a low, sinister growl. A warning, I was sure. What? Jimmy growled. Headset. I grabbed the pair, tossed him into the bin closest to me, which would open on his side. I heard him retrieve it and watched as he placed it in his ear. I turned off the external speakers and spoke through the headsets. What, dude? I'm not sure. I smell more. More people?
No. Werewolves.
Seriously?
Yes.
He sniffed once more. It was slow, long inhale. He held it in and stared forward, waiting. You know, said a nasal, whiny voice that irritated me instantly, I'm surprised you didn't push the button. It would have made this all so much easier if you had. I stared at the screen and saw 3 more optical anomalies in front of the shop. 2 the size of Jimmy, and a slender tall man standing a few steps in front of them.
You did this to me?
Barked Jimmy. Yes. Amazing, isn't it?
Why?
Why not? I need an army. and an army I'll get.
For what?
Invasion, you idiot. I bore of this. Come here and beg. I watched Jimmy crouch down, and anger was in his voice.
Fuck you.
I know you'd love to fight. Try to rip my head off like that woman there. But you can't. The man raised his hand. I could see a ring was there. The man had his thumb resting on it, and there was a menacing tone in his voice. You will learn who is master and who is slave. Granted, this would have been easier if you had pushed the button, but no matter. He pressed the ring, and instantly Jimmy cowered and cried out in pain. Fuck this. I was about to open up the cannons, and Jimmy shook his head, and I waited. I noted they had not come in close enough yet. They were just outside the full lethal range of the cannons, and I recalled how quickly Jimmy could move.
Nice ring, bitch, but I will never be a slave again.
The man twisted the ring and held it up, and Jimmy screamed out in pain but did not move an inch. The two other werewolves stepped in and meant to flank Jimmy. Now, let's not make this more painful to you. Come here. The man took a step in. I needed him another step or two, and I would have him dead center of the cannons.
No!
The other two were firmly in the kill zone. The man looked frustrated, took 2 more steps, and when I saw Jimmy nod, I unleashed hell. The cannon sent 400 rounds at the 3, and I even hit the special shotgun blasts, which were positioned on both sides of the entrance, low, angled up. It was designed to blow off legs and tear lower extremities. It was loud, and the shop was filled with dust and debris. Jimmy, did we get him?
Can't tell. So much smells.
Some of the dust settled, and a man's arm, which had the ring on it, was laying on the ground in a nice puddle of blood. The other 2 werewolves had been hit and were bleeding and crawling away. Jimmy charged, grabbed the arm, flung it back with perfect accuracy to the catch bin near me, where I had flipped it out with the earpiece minutes earlier. It thudded in, and I flipped it back to me. I noticed the man's hands were somewhat dark and had patches of fur on it. I took my blade, cut at the finger, and the ring came free. I examined it, slid it on my ring finger, and it fit. I looked back at the camera, and Jimmy had torn the head free of one of the werewolves and was savagely ripping out the spine of the other. He looked down the street and was tracking blood. Jimmy!
Motherfucker gonna die!
I looked outside. The cameras watched as Jimmy was almost on all fours hauling ass west. A woman came out curious as to the noise, and he slashed her face and continued, Oh shit, Jimmy, come back! He paused and looked on the ground and shook his head. Blood ends here. No tracks, nothing. Where the fuck is he? Jimmy, look up. He did, and he growled. Fucker! He bellowed out. He was running back towards the shop now. Anyone dumb enough to come out or near, he savagely attacked. As he got closer to the shop, I felt the ring pulsate on my finger. I was still on the headset, pleading with Jimmy to stop. Jimmy, fuck, man, stop! The ring vibrated on my finger, and Jimmy stopped on a dime.
Yeah, good. Order me come back to the shop.
Jimmy, come back to the shop. He started running again, and when he was inside, I hit the close gate button, and the gate free fell, slammed into the closed position.
Okay, I can't move or anything. I think you have it in the command mode that fucker was trying to use on me. Tell me to do something I wouldn't want to do around you.
Tell me I'm the greatest and most handsome of both of us.
No.
He groaned slightly in pain and laughed.
What else can a ring do?
Looks like there's 4 notches on it.
What's it on right now?
Maybe a fist?
Okay, what else?
There's one with a 0 or maybe a circle with a line through it, a red slash and a star.
Okay, do the 0 one.
Dude, you think we should be fucking with this? One of these could be like a kill switch.
He thought about it. Do the 0.
I sighed. I rotated to the 0 and immediately he relaxed and nodded.
Okay, good. I can move freely now.
No weird stress. Try the red slash. Jimmy, don't be a pussy. I shrugged and then slowly rotated the ring again, and it settled in and notched, and Jimmy howled out in pain. No, 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 that one, turn it off, that one. I rotated back to the 0 position. Okay, that sucked. I think when I was fighting his commands, he was rotating it back and forth to that one. Okay, just leave it on the last. That just leaves one. I took a deep breath, rotated it to the star. Whoa! He yipped for a moment, and then I watched him quickly transform to regular Jimmy. Holy shit, he said as he looked down. He was naked and grinned. Okay. Try to go back to the other modes. Let's see if it does anything to me when I'm normal. I twisted to the red slash. Nothing. Red slash, which fucked you up earlier, no effect. That's a relief. The others? I twisted to the fist icon and stated, okay, control 1, the fist icon. He was dancing. Tell me to stop. Dude, stop. No, seriously, stop. Okay, no pain, no feeling that I should obey you. Awesome. One more, right? I turned the ring to the 0 position and again nothing. Okay, I turned the 0 position. Nothing, bro. Gonna turn it back to the star position now. When it settled into the star position, I felt the vibration and watched as Jimmy shifted violently to the full werewolf form. Ouch! Oh shit. Okay, I think I got it now. I turned the ring briefly to 0, and then counted 1 second, and then back to star. He shifted back to Jimmy mode. I tossed in some clothing and flipped the bend to his side. He grabbed the pants, noted they were large, saw a belt. Larger pants, I get it. So what, you gonna keep me locked out? I unlocked the door, swung it open, stepped outside and stared at him. He hugged me, and I exhaled in relief. I slid my knife back into the sheath and smiled at him. Good to see you're not all crazy monster, although you still are covered in blood and have bits of old lady on here. I reached up, took a piece of flesh that was on his cheek and flicked it. Well, fuck. I guess we're done in 74 now, right? I asked. Jimmy nodded sadly. It had been our home for over 10 years. I could see the fear on his face. Bro, relax. We got this. You still freakishly strong? Jimmy walked to the fertilizer tubes which held the gold and silver, lifted one in each hand. Yup, he was still super strong. Well, at least you look normal. That'll help with getting shit. Yeah, and you have the ring, which means you control me. I stared at him. I took the ring off, placed it in my palm, handed it to him. You control yourself then. He thought about it, shook his head. No, man, I was fucking with you. It's safer if you hold on to that. There was a moment when I'm pretty sure I would have eaten your face. I couldn't live with myself if that happened to you. I nodded. I slipped the ring back on and started grabbing the packs. I couldn't see on the camera. Where was Stumpy? He was in the air, flying at some tech I'd never seen or even read about before. So he was alive and well then? Yeah. Fuck, he's gonna be a problem then. Probably. He tracked us most likely with a device. Do you think it's smart to bring it to Oasis? I shrugged. It's your life, man. We can go to Oasis, see what the doctors think, bring the device and maybe see what they know. Or we could book it and go somewhere else. Which direction did asshole go? West. Well, that just leaves Hellgate then. Hellgate or Oasis. We could hit Oasis and then the Collective. Yeah, I thought about that. Let's see what we can dig up at Oasis, said Jimmy, finally. Okay, let's hit up Oasis. You good on food, right? You want to go eat the lady you slashed up earlier? Nope. I'm the most full I've been in my entire life. Thanks for asking. Dude, I was being a smartass. Listen, serious bro talk here. Fucking serious. I'm happy to kill anyone and everyone to keep you cool. That's what family does for each other. But if you try to fucking eat me, you can use the ring on me and kill me. No, you asshat. I'm gonna use the ring to inflict damage on you enough times to make you piss yourself for even thinking about it. You're fucking crazy, man, says the chink werewolf. Dude, again with the racist comments. We chuckled and laughed. We both understood we needed to smile, have some sort of relief from the madness, and knew damn well, if hell existed, we both had special reservations for it. I tossed Jimmy a packet of wet towels, and he cleaned himself up, as I gathered the rest of the items which I knew we'd need, said goodbye to the rest of the items I knew we couldn't carry, and waited for Jimmy to do the same. One item he held in his jacket surprised me. It was a small stuffed animal, a dog, with one long floppy ear and one patched up small one. We had gotten it as a trade from a starving kid. Jimmy had given her water and 3 wafers. We learned later she had died in the wastelands, and it had hit Jimmy hard. "Shit, man, you still have that?" He nodded. "Yep." I smiled. He may be a monster, but he was still Jimmy. We opened the back gate, and I was expecting an army of werewolves to be waiting, or bandits with firearms, but only the dark red dirt and the hot wind greeted us. I lifted the control panel of the mule and looked at the settings. I hit the override and throttled the speed, and we were off like a bolt of lightning. "Holy shit, this is rough riding," said Jimmy as we rolled out. "It'll be a little rough until we get to the road." He nodded, and as we continued, I saw him look back, and the back gate closed behind us, and he pressed the lockdown on the remote, and I gave the shop a 50-50 chance of not being looted while we left. I also knew the chances of us ever returning back was most likely 0. We rode the first 2 hours in silence, and Jimmy kept scanning the skies above and behind us. I kept a watchful eye in front of us, and my heart began to pump as I saw an Oasis patrol approaching us. Normally, they would have been a welcome sight, but after the atrocities of 74, I wasn't so sure. I knew we were not the only residents with communication abilities. The patrol was 6 heavily armed men on mechanical horses, similar to the mule series I was running, but a lot faster and also built for combat. Our mule unit was commercial grade, meant to pull massive weight. Nothing more, nothing less. When they got up on us, the lead rider had a stern expression, and he examined us. "Where are you folks heading?" "Oasis." "Any contraband on your cart?" "No, sir." "Purpose in Oasis?" "Going for trade and also resupply." "Resupply?" "Water. Hopefully some wafers." "Yeah. Collective just did a shipment. Your timing's perfect. New flavor, too." "Really?" "Yeah." "Root beer?" One of the other riders nodded. "Yeah, I had one. Not bad. Kinda sweet." "Sweet, eh? That's good. Most of the folks we trade with lose their mind on chocolate." "Right?" The leader was relaxing a bit, satisfied his bullshit meter wasn't going off. "Okay, just need to run a surface scan if it's okay." I shrugged. "Go for it." He pulled out a unit. It whined, floated, then coasted over the cart. A few seconds later beeped, and he nodded. "No guns, no contraband items, all good. You guys travel safely." "Where are you guys heading next?" I asked, curious. "We're gonna go investigate an attack that was reported this morning. You guys hear anything?" I nodded. "Yeah, fucking wild dogs. You know how every so often we get a wild pack with big balls?" He nodded. "Group came up, fucked up a bunch of people. We took them down. Expensive business, though. We lost a lot of bullets." "Damn. Sorry to hear that. We don't allow guns, but there is an ammo depot in the backside of the city. There's a guy named Leon, the smith. He keeps ammo. Might be able to resupply you, so your shop's solid." "Leon the smith. Got it. Thanks." "Well, I don't see any reason for us to go to 74 then if the dogs were put down." I nodded. "Thanks for the information. We'll head on back then. You guys good?" I nodded again. "Yep." He motioned, and the riders all turned and returned the way they had come. A few minutes had passed, and Jimmy looked at me. "Dude, you're an amazing liar." "What part of what I said was lies? We are heading to Oasis. We do need to trade for things. And we did have encounters with dogs. Kinda." "Yeah, but I was the one who attacked the people. 'Cause you needed to eat, so you wouldn't eat your brother. The guy responsible is Mr. Lefty Little Dick." He nodded. I could see the guilt was settling in on him. "Dude, I opened the gate." "What?" "I opened the gate and invited the lady in." "Yeah, but I killed her and ate her." "You're a fucking werewolf. Kind of your thing." He nodded. He would have to understand it was his new normal. He'd adjust. By the way, Jimmy. Yeah? Congrats. On what? You're cured. I am of what? Your xenophobia. He stared at me for a moment, thought back to the guards, and then he laughed, long and loudly. Shit, you're right. We continued riding, and didn't encounter another soul until we approached the outer wall of Oasis. The walls of Oasis were just large enough to convince anyone with a crazy notion of attacking it to think twice. It was 20 feet tall and at least 60 feet thick. Along the perimeter of the city was cannons every 50 yards. Security shacks were dotted along the top, and each held roughly 4 guards. Oasis was a large city, and part of the reason for its size and success was the fact that it was also situated around a large lake that served as a major water repository of the neighboring towns. Roughly 200,000 people lived within the safety of Oasis, and it was large enough to accommodate easily 10 times that. The only problem was there wasn't that many people in the region that was keen on giving up their rights and conforming to the religious and strict social rules that existed within the walls. Many people were content living within the shadow of the city, and the outer rim of the city held a population of nearly 50,000. The outer city was still safer than most areas, but the rules of engagement were vastly more loose in the shadows. I had done a lot of special deals outside of Oasis, but our business with the device was within the walls. I slowed the mule down as we neared the front gates, and we were behind 3 other traders, and we waited patiently. As I got to the main guard, he waved us and stopped and waited as I shut down the mule. Nature of business in Oasis. Traders. Traders? Yes. What specifically you trading? Tech, I said with a slightly lower tone. Meant for Oasis Square, unit number Alpha 1. That got his attention. You're correct on the address? I nodded. He swallowed, looked around quickly. You know the way? He asked. I nodded. Okay, let them through. Let them through. He stepped back. I started up the mule again and set her on slow and entered the city of Oasis. We traveled through the gate, and I shook my head. Jimmy, I'm not sure I should be the one to go up in there. Why? 'Cause you loved her and left her wanting more? I nodded. Yeah, you know how chicks can be. He shrugged. No, not really. I stared at him and shook my head. I'm just saying, it might make negotiations more drama-filled. Well, you think it wouldn't if she finds out I'm your brother? I don't know how she could. I don't think I told her a hell of a lot about me. Not the shop or anything, but I had been drinking, so I could have slipped and said something. Dude, it's been, what, 3 years? I nodded. At least that. Shit, she may not even be living there anymore. I shrugged. Fuck it. Let's go. If I have to eat crow and apologize, I'd do it in a heartbeat. We continued past rows and rows of beautifully manicured landscapes. The stark contrast between what was seen outside the city and inside always amazed people. Oasis was a magical place, held so much beauty that people forgot how strict the laws were. We arrived at the front of the building, and memories flooded into my mind. A large man stood at the side of the entrance and sneered as we approached.
We are not interested in what you're selling, he barked.
We were given instructions to bring a certain piece of tech to this address. He paused and looked surprised.
1 moment.
He went into the building, and I heard a familiar voice from within. See them in already. Bring the claw and don't touch the damn thing with your hands.
Yes, madam.
The man returned with a floating arm with a massive hook on one end. I moved the covering from the device, and the claw retrieved it, and he motioned for us to follow him. We walked in, and it was as if no time has passed. Everything looked the same as it had the night I had first walked into the unit. The smells were there to jog my memories of the heated love-making we had engaged in. When she walked in, she first looked at Jimmy and smiled softly, and then her eyes fell on me. Her face held no change of emotions, and for the briefest of moments, I thought perhaps the drinking had dulled her memory. It's good to see you again, Josh. Been like 3 years? And your brother, Jimmy? I was shocked, and then simply said, something like that. So which one of you got fucked up by it? She motioned at the device, which the man had placed in the center of the receiving room. Jimmy cleared his throat. It was me. I see. Show me your hands. He raised his hand, and the right one had the scar from the cut. Did you push all 3 buttons? Jimmy shook his head. No, I got to the second one, and my brother Josh convinced me not to push the last one. She nodded. Good to hear he does have some brains. And the transformation. Did you eat flesh? He nodded slowly. Pity. The transformation is solidified then. You will transform when the moon is full, and sometimes if you see or smell blood, I would suggest you go vegan, but then you will never be able to eat normal food again. How do you know so much? I asked softly, treading carefully. She sighed and was about to answer when she noted the ring on my finger. Where did you get that? She asked, alarmed. There was a man and 2 other werewolves who came and tried to take Jimmy. We fought them off. I was able to get this from the hand that was left when he got away. Describe the man in detail. There was urgency in her voice. Really tall, skinny, added Jimmy, and his voice was all, whiny, kind of high-pitched. I nodded at Jimmy. He had like really dark eyes, maybe a beard, Jimmy? Yeah, he had a beard. Some gray in it, I think. He was going on about building an army. Army? She cut me off. Her eyes burned in mine. I nodded. Yeah, right, Jimmy? Yeah. Shit. When was this? This morning about 5 a.m. Took us almost 10 hours to get here. She shook her head, snapped her finger. Large man came quickly.
Yes, madam.
Retrieve the red guard as well as alert the wall. Alert them. Code words. Full moon rises. Hurry. Hey, what's the deal? I asked, my heart beginning to speed up and sink at the same time. It was already bad news about Jimmy being stuck as a werewolf, and also the fact that he could shift without the ring, but something in the way she was acting was setting off every internal alarm I had. You 2 are going to have to leave very soon. That ring belongs to someone who is supposed to be dead, and if what you've told me is true, there is no reason for you to lie, even know of his existence. Then you are in grave danger, as he will want that back. Why? Because if you know how to use it, you'll be able to control his entire army. Can he make another one? No. Why not? Because I made that ring. What? Yes. You're asking how I know what I know? We had a small outbreak 20 years ago. My father was able to figure out the genetic makeup of the werewolves, how they were spreading, what caused the mutations. I grew up learning a great deal about them. We have 3 of our cells under the city, very polite and well-behaved after all these years. Well, my father figured out how to make new werewolves, and the leaders of Oasis thought it would be a good way to defend ourselves in the event of a large force trying to take the city. I nodded, and Jimmy was leaning in, captivated. My father had different ideas. He was more interested in creating an invasion force, heading towards the collective, taking their resources as well as continuing south. Why? What's further south than the collective? The Dawn Empire. They have tech the likes you can't even imagine. The wealth, the power. The only reason they don't venture north is there's nothing really here of value. Everything the world covets is south. Gold, food, tech, raw power, plus access to the inner earth. Inner earth? Yes, after the fall there were many great world powers that had gone underground. Like Hellgate? Deeper than Hellgate. More military power and resources as well. Anyway, as I was saying, my father, the man you saw this morning, died in front of me. I saw him die, and I thought we were done. How did he die? I stabbed him in the heart. What? I realized how close I was standing to her and wondered, if she wanted me dead, would I be? The leaders had told me if he proceeded with his plans, I was to make sure the situation was resolved. Why you? I asked, surprised. Because I am the hand of death. I dropped to my knees, planted my head on the ground. Jimmy was shocked and confused, decided better to follow my lead. Josh, stand up. I'm not going to kill you. Dude, what the hell is the hand of death? Jimmy asked, confused. Remember the story I told you a long time ago about bandits that had snuck into Oasis with the bright fucking idea of assassinating the royalty here right before the big annual festival like 5 years ago? Jimmy thought for a moment. Yeah, you said there was like 30 heads on the wall? I nodded. Yeah. Remember who I told you was responsible for it? Yeah, you said you saw it go down. There was like a shadow of death that took them all in a single breath. I thought it was very poetic of you. Complete bullshit, but oh, I was unaware you actually saw my work, Josh. I nodded. I thought it was a guy. It was so fast, so big. Oh, fuck. What? Asked Jimmy. She's a fucking werewolf. She nodded slowly. Yes, I am. One of the original, as was my father. That was why they told me to do it. That ring, I made that ring with the hopes of being able to control my own transformations. He had tried to use it against me. We struggled, and even though the ring caused me great pain, I was able to plunge this blade, suddenly her hand held a long, savage blade in it, into his black heart. I heard his heart stop. He was dead. I am sure of it. They took him away and I never saw his body again after. She turned and took a photo from a drawer, showed it to us, and Jimmy farted. Fuck, dude, I said, embarrassed. Sorry. She nodded grimly, knowing by her expression we had indeed seen her father. He's been gone for a long time, more than enough time to build an army. I was intrigued by reports we were receiving of some foreign tech was causing infection. We were not sure who was behind it. Now that I know, I am sure he will come. You must continue and warn the collective. Why not just send the information on one of the tech platforms? Jimmy asked. Because there were many with the collective who also wanted to join my father. I only know one person there I can trust. A woman named Ingrid Slavinsky. She is captain of the guard, Front Legion. You'll come across her first before you get near the collective capital. Show her this blade. She handed the blade to me, and as I held it, felt it was still warm from being in her hands. So you're talking war? I asked as I took the blade away. Charisse looked into my eyes for a moment and nodded. Fuck. So no cure for me? No. As I said, you ate the flesh. What's done is done. And you're sure your father's coming? No. But the fact that you have the ring, and I know he'll want it, he'll be tracking the device, I bet. I'll have it taken away from the city, bring it east towards Hellgate. Won't he go there then? Better there than here. I shrugged. Didn't matter to me as long as it was giving us a head start. And you think the ring can control his army? Maybe. If what you say is true, he was using it on you, Jimmy. Yeah, he twisted it, and then I heard a noise and pain. My skin was burning. He was also kind of controlling my mood, making me calmer. But then he fucked up and called me like his slave. I'll never be a slave again. She nodded. Good. You have strength. You'll need it. And the hunger? Would you have eaten your brother? At first, I really wanted to. I could almost taste it. Sorry, bro. I raised my hand and motioned for him to continue. But I kept thinking about how many times he saved me. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's like 50% chance, maybe. She was surprised. That is amazing that you had that inner turmoil at all. When someone is first transformed, they usually have no thought or consideration for who they kill. Oh, the lady I ate? I was like that with her. I was like, damn, so good, so tasty, crunch, crunch. I made a motion for him to settle down and he nodded. Sorry, don't be. I understand it well, which is why I created the ring in the first place and was deeply saddened by the loss. I still have to feed once a moon draws near to keep control. In fact, it was very lucky you fled when you did, dear Josh. Oh, fuck me. So you were gonna eat me? She smiled, and my stomach hurt. Yes, but you left. So I had another dinner guest that evening. I was actually very happy you had escaped me, and it seems our fate was intertwined. Fate's not done with us yet, which in a way makes me happy. I nodded and swallowed. So what's the plan then? We head further south, pass along information, then keep booking south? Yes, that would be the wisest decision. What you gonna do? We'll give you a decent head start. I took a deep breath and sighed. I didn't like this. I didn't like it at all. It felt like a setup. My men will equip you with horses and gear. You should be able to hit the collective territory in a day or so. Then after that, you ride hard. Go a week further. You'll be at the Dawn Empire's gates. She had a whimsical look in her eyes as she mentioned the Dawn Empire. How will we know? Oh, you'll see the Dawn's gates. Something that has to be seen to be believed. What happens to you? I will attempt to kill my father again, and if I succeed, I will head to the Dawn and try to find you. How? She stepped to me, held my gaze. Her hand whipped out, and I felt the slight twinge on my neck. Reached up to cover it. Saw her lick the tip of her clawed finger. Only the claw had extended. She hadn't shifted at all. She tasted it and nodded. You would have been a delicious meal indeed, but I have other plans for you. She moved so quickly I couldn't react in time. She held me firm and kissed me with such passion. When she released me, I was smiling like a stupid fool. We will continue this later, and I will find you if I survive. The large man was back, and he had witnessed the kiss, and his cheeks were flush red. He realized he had nearly interrupted his master's intimate moment. He glanced at me and nodded, and smiled a warm, inviting smile, almost as if to say, "Welcome to the family." That didn't sit well with me. Take them to the mechanic. See to it they are geared. We have a couple of items in our cart as well, I added. She nodded and motioned. The large man said nothing as he guided us to the back of Oasis. There he entered a large old building filled with archaic machines, and Jimmy noted the equipment and smiled. Holy shit, man, this is a legit garage. I nodded and waited as the large man nodded towards us and said something out of earshot. The old man walked towards us and nodded. Two of my best horses, fully charged up for long-distance hard riding. Also, a hover cart for your gear and some other shit that you have, huh? I nodded. Fine. I'll have it ready in 10 minutes. The large man stood nearby, and when he was satisfied, he stared at me and nodded. He left us, and Jim and I watched as 6 soldiers running and jumping from tops of buildings followed him and realized Charisse made sure we were protected as far as the mechanic's spot. Something told me we were still not alone. Dude, what? I said as I glanced at Jimmy. I gotta know something. It's kinda important. What? Did you go down on her? I stared at him and was shocked. Out of fucking everything we were just told, that's what you want to know? He nodded and held in a laugh. I knew where he was going, and I needed a laugh. Yeah, I did. Why? 'Cause I was thinking, how fucking funny would it have been if she ate you after you ate her? I grinned. You're fucked up. He nodded. You almost got fucked up. I nodded, but then thought about the way she looked at me. She tasted my blood, and when she had kissed me, I realized she had bit my tongue. Jimmy, is my tongue cut? I stuck it out and he glanced at it. Maybe a little. Why? I don't know. That was a hell of a kiss, though. He nodded. Yeah, it was. The old man approached us. We shut up and waited for him. Okay, shit's ready. One thing. The horses. They need to get a drop of blood of each of you. And for fuck's sake, do not try to ride each other's horses. They will kick your ass. They are designed to only let the main rider ride them. I don't have time to modify the code. Understand? Yeah. Okay, follow me. There were 2 horses. One all ebony black metal with a dull blue glow in her eyes. The other was almost mirror finish. Which one you like, Jimmy? I like the black one. I shrugged. Old man pointed out the control panel. It was a slight indent where he motioned with his thumb. Jimmy pressed down on it, and after a moment, the horse lowered and allowed him access. I followed the procedure of mine. Within a few minutes, we had all the gear transferred and riding at a moderate pace further south than either of us had ever imagined we'd go. After 30 minutes, I motioned, and we slowed and stopped. Okay, Jimmy, gut check. What the fuck are we doing? What you mean? I mean, we have our gold, we have our silver, we have our diamonds, we have these horses. We could probably shoot back the way we came, make a dash for Northgate. Maybe Valhalla isn't bullshit. I mean, how do we know for sure that Charisse is on the up and up? I just got a bad feeling, man. He thought about it. I trust her. Of course you do. You're a fucking werewolf now. He shook his head. No, man. Serious. I think I'd rather trust her than chance it on Northgate. I nodded. The thing is, man, we're riding kind of naked. I mean, we have our hammer and all, and I hope and pray it brings us luck, like back in the day. But man, I would feel so much better if we had some fucking guns. I mean, we unloaded on Charissa's dad and survived. And what? I stand a chance with a pig sticker? Understanding dawned on Jimmy. Oh shit, the tables is turned. What? Yeah, man, usually you're the one protecting me. Looks like I'll be saving your ass now. I paused and thought about it. It's gonna get dark soon. Better find a spot for us to camp and sleep. Not safe to ride in the dark. He nodded. A quarter mile ahead, I saw some hills and smaller sets of mountains. I figured cover would be good, and some height would give us advantage if we were attacked. And then again, I came back to the fact we had no guns, which would render the high ground somewhat useless. But I shrugged, and we pushed the horses and arrived at a good set of rocks to provide us cover and also the windbreak to keep the frigid air off of us for the evening. We cleared the area, and I was going to say something to Jimmy when he paused suddenly and sniffed and looked frustrated. He motioned for me to twist the ring, and I nodded. I rotated off of star and then back the star symbol, and he shifted quickly. He loosened the belt slightly and nodded to me. He sniffed the air, began to growl. Like a living shadow, he climbed higher, and I fished the packs until I found a monoscope. I glanced through it, saw several riders approaching near a camp. It was 3 women and a small child. Jimmy sniffed again and growled, shook his head. I looked again, saw the women had rifles, and I smiled as they were getting closer. I was amazed. Jimmy could see them with his naked eyes, and they got closer. I concocted a plan, and I whispered softly, Jimmy, the riders have rifles, man. We need those rifles. It might be good for you to eat. No, man. I looked again and figured it was most likely because Jimmy saw the kid. Hold up. That wasn't a kid. I stared again, saw the rider was a yoked-out midget. I had never seen a muscular midget. The women looked hard. I searched the mounts, saw the markings. They were bandits. What the fuck were bandits doing this far south? They were riding hard. For a moment, I thought maybe they were running from something, but nothing was pursuing them. I waited, and they passed 30 yards from where we had hidden our gear. They passed by without an incident. I watched as they did, and when I was sure they were out of sight, I turned and stared at Jimmy. We exchanged words, my brother and I, and it was the night that I learned a new phobia that my brother possessed. It was achondroplassophobia, fear of midgets. I knew the road ahead of us was going to be long and hard, but with my brother with me, I was sure we would either come out on top and handle business, or we would die together, watching over each other. All in all, it sounded like shit was gonna get epic.